Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Ray and I'm a spiritual mentor. In this video, I want to teach you different methods and methodologies of how to remain in your heart space while you're interacting with negatively oriented people. So, stay tuned. Now, we all have that person or persons in plural that can actually move us from our center. In other words, people that piss us off, people that say something that create a mental filter. In other words, something that we keep thinking about on and on and on all day. It can be at work, it can be with our spouse, it can be in our family, it can be in many, many different ways. The idea of staying in our heart center is actually being connected. Do you know that feeling that when you are in your zone? In other words, when you took a few big breaths, and now you're not reacting, but you're actually responding. One of my techniques is to feel your way through the day. In other words, how do I feel? Not what am I thinking about. Imagine how many times, if you ask yourself several times every day, how do I feel? And you describe it using words, using emotions, you will start noticing that you're moving from the mind, which is already overloaded with a lot of thoughts and stress sometimes, into the heart. In other words, when I'm having a conversation with someone, I'm asking myself, am I feeling good in this conversation? Am I having a good time? Is this interesting for me? I'm not saying anything from the mind. I'm asking myself, is this good for me? Is it bad for me? For example, or when I'm in my work, or when somebody just raised something or said a sentence that I don't really like, ask myself, how do I feel in this moment? And slowly, slowly, you will move more into the heart space. And this is one of the techniques to slowly move into the heart space, because over there, you're going to master control of your emotions. Now, this does not mean I own my emotions. It means I allow and I'm not a victim or attached to my emotions. So that was number one. Throughout your day, feel your experience itself. The second thing, which requires some experience, is to stay centered and present when you're interacting with other people and with your environment. In other words, of course, this is a practice that sometimes takes years to master, so don't think about it in an absolute way, in I fail or I succeed, but take it as an ongoing experience that you can try to do with yourself. For example, if you already know that there's a certain person that moves you out of your tranquil, normal state, or at least that is the way that we define it, try to see how you feel from the objective perspective. In other words, when you're interacting with them, when you're talking with them, try to see if you can make it into a humble experience and not into an overwhelming argument or anything like that. And then notice what is expressed in your body. In other words, you are already feeling the tension. For example, a lot of people, when they pick up the phone and they see that it's mom or it's dad or someone like that, and there's a lot of emotional remnants that are in that type of relationship, we're already coming to the conversation with some heavy load, in other words. So when you are actually becoming more present in your interactions, you are more present with yourself, of course. It begins with the self, and then with your interactions, you'll start noticing that you're moving into the heart space. In other words, you're not judging, but you are positively criticizing other people instead. And there's a big difference. It's the intonation that makes that difference in your mind, in the inner voice of your mind as well. So that's number two. Number three is to take time to acknowledge your emotions and to be present with them. In other words, a lot of people who follow me, you follow me because I'm more mental. In other words, I'm the scientific-oriented type of teacher, so you like that. I give a lot of information in a very short amount of time. Now think about what that means about our mind. Our mind is overpopulated with a lot of different thoughts, but we don't actually move into the gate of the heart. Now, when we acknowledge our emotions, we admit our emotions, we actually assume responsibility for them. In other words, somebody made us feel jealous, for example, and every now and then I feel envious myself, even though I have like the dream life. I travel every month to a different country, I own a beautiful place, I do everything the right way for me. And yet, I get envious of people's success, of people's, life stories, of people's beautiful car, whatever. Like stupid, materialistic, low vibration type of stuff. As it happens, I look at the emotion. I allow it. I acknowledge it. I don't tell it, I don't suppress it, which, by the way, is the source of all disease. the suppression of human emotions, like happiness, sadness, frustration, everything. And this is something that happened to me as a child as well. And I only discovered it at a much later age. So when you look at the emotion and you're expressing it, you're feeling it, feel the despair, feel the sadness. And I guarantee that with time, you will see that it becomes shorter and shorter and shorter, the amount of time that you're spending in the feeling. Because if you don't express the negative emotions, it doesn't matter what it is, sadness, fear, jealousy, envy, everything, okay, frustration, if you don't express it, you won't be able to enjoy the positive emotions. That's the way that it works, you know. It has to be, the positive has to come with the negative. There's a contrast between them. That's the beauty of it. Now, imagine the first time that somebody broke your heart. And it took days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months, sometimes years to get over the first heartbreak. But the second time, you saw it, you expressed it, it was shorter. So the weeks became days, maybe. And then eventually it can become hours. An emotion, a negative emotion, can be expressed in a matter of seconds if you acknowledge it. If you don't, you're suppressing it. If you don't admit it, if you don't acknowledge it, it will actually go into the physical level and become the origin of some sort of disease or make you feel bad about it. If you do express it, you're letting it go. You're getting rid of it, okay? Of the burden that comes with that type of. And go within the heart and ask yourself, how do I feel? How do I feel? How do I feel? You will start noticing that different relationships in your life actually drain you energetically. And these are the type of people that are no longer in alignment to your vibration. And you know that you need to take a step back, sometimes even completely disappear or disconnect them from your life. The next step is to constantly commune with your inner guidance. In other words, ask them questions like, how do I feel about this? Or is this really the way to my heart? Or is this the way that my heart will choose to express it? Now, I made a video a long time ago about one sentence that my spiritual guide told me many, many years ago that changed my life, which is, what would love do in your stead? In other words, when you are faced upon a situation with someone, with something that anything in your life, ask yourself, what would love do? For example, somebody pisses you off at work, and you want to say something, you want to get mad, you want to tell the boss about it, okay? You want to scream, whatever. Ask yourself, what would love do? Love would be patient. Love would forgive. Love would be accepting. In other words, try to see that person as another soul. Now, you need to accept the fact that you are not going to change the world. When you ask these questions about your guidance, you're always going to get the type of accepting, loving approach, delicate approach, because your guidance is you. It's your future you that is completely developed. And when you ask yourself that question and allow it to echo within your body, you already know the answer. Now, sometimes your ego will want to get involved and is going to tell you something that is completely wrong. And you know, because the difference between an ego answering the question and the heart answering the question is that the heart will answer immediately. My last advice to you is, when you stumble upon a situation and you feel that you're moving from your center, is to breathe. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to stop everything, run away to the other room and go. No, not at all. Do it in front of them. Now, you don't have to sound different in any way. I just go like this. PRANIC breath, beginning from your belly all the way up to your chest. As you let go, you are actually expressing all the negative emotions that you have. And because I'm a meditator for many, many years now, then it actually moves me back into my center. Now, breathing moves us from that mind drama, if you want to call it, back into your heart center. Now, try it with me. Think about a negative situation that you stumbled upon in the last few days. Anything that frustrated you, from the train being late to an uncomfortable conversation you might have had. And now breathe into it one time, a deep breath, and go belly, chest. Now feel the differences in the vibration of your body. Feel how comfortable you feel now. Now imagine having a very, very, very uncomfortable conversation, a very boring conversation, if you will. When you do that and you're breathing into it and you're slowly exercising these breaths, you're going to go right back into your heart center. I even feel like my voice is a little bit different because of this breathing that we just did. So let's review a few of the things that we mentioned. Acknowledging the emotions, breathing into the situation, feeling our day or feeling the way through our day itself, okay? Understanding and accepting that we are not going to change these people in any way. We can only set an example of being a higher, higher vibration type of person. Try to do good. If we're expressing judgment in our mind, then we're actually expressing judgment in the outside world as well. So try to think about the negative things that you call negative things in your mind as positive criticism or a place for other people to grow from. Because when we are judging, we're actually not in unity. We're in the consciousness of separation, which is the lowest vibration, because we see other people as different from what we are. And that's a dual way of thinking. And if we want to completely get rid of it and be in the heart space all the time, what we need to do is to think about the positive things that we see in every situation. For example, somebody's, taking all of your time. Think about it as an experience that you have in learning patience. My friends, thank you very much for staying all the way to the end. My name is Ray. Namaste, and I will see you in my next video.